So you guys missed last night's training. Not to worry, I've got you guys covered. In the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to summarize what we've talked about yesterday. Okay? So we know that this is called the Life Force Energy Training Program, the new way to win with Feng Shui. And it is a 4 or 5-part training, depending on whether or not you're staying for the VIP section. I hope you do, because there's a lot we will be covering on part 5, and also a lot of notes that you guys will be getting. Okay, now part 1 focus on awakening. That's what we discussed yesterday, and if you want to watch the replay, if you're in the VIP, you get to watch the replay. We talked about core energy, your identity palace, your setting your real intentions of what you want to achieve, what Feng Shui can or cannot do, what bad Feng Shui looks like, what real Feng Shui looks like. This is super important, because if you're a beginner, you're starting your journey in Feng Shui, you need to know how Feng Shui actually works, or what does it mean to have bad Feng Shui. So that's what we covered in Awakening. And a glimpse of what's coming. Part 2 is about alignment. It's about aligning to the other core potentials based on your personal Feng Shui, syncing with them, aligning it with your goals. That's what alignment's about. And then part 3, we're going to talk about fixing. In case you want to fix certain aspect, getting into flow, removing energy blocks. That's what we're going to do in part 3. And part 4, we're talking about activating. Certain things you want more, you want to design strategic breakthroughs, trigger an upward spiral. That's where part 4, we get to discuss that. And part 5, if you're staying for part 5, we're going to talk about multiplying, strategies to multiply wealth, abundance, and beyond. Now, when it comes to Feng Shui, everything is based on Qi. So we talked about this yesterday, that Qi is the invisible current that shapes all things. It flows through your breath, your thoughts, your timing. It moves in the wind, the earth, the tides, and it shapes your choices. And it's not just the essence of life. It is the movement behind life itself. Where Qi flows, life grows. Where it is blocked, everything struggles. And there are 10 impacts of Qi. When we say we use Feng Shui, we are literally trying to create these 10 impacts. So yesterday I talked about the first impact is about the ability to attract. You know, it's hard to chase after our desires and goals, right? It's harder to chase after money, but if money and opportunities looks for you, it's way easier. So that's what I mean by attracting. Energy attracts energy. So if you can design the Feng Shui, whether we're using whatever systems, 8 mentions, flying stars, dragon gate 8 formations, whatever formulas, we set it right, align it right, we'll start to attract. And we use Feng Shui to impact turning things around for ourselves. So if certain things are not doing so well, and we want to turn things around, our business, our life, our relationships, that's what we do when we say we use Feng Shui. We also use Feng Shui to heal. Some of us are, that we need some healing, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually perhaps. Healing is one important aspect. We also use Feng Shui to reinforce certain things that we want, to enhance it, to make it better, to create a breakthrough, an opportunity, or to escape. Now, not to escape life, but to escape toxic relationships and toxic environment. Sometimes we just need the courage to take the next step away from something that is bad. Or we set up our Feng Shui to create a transformation, or we help us create the courage to have resolve in our life, to make a decision that we're putting back and holding for the longest time, or to gain clarity. That's how Qi works. If Qi is pure and clear and harmonious, we have a clarity on what we want to achieve in life, and that is empowering. And of course, to secure ourselves, all right, to protect us, to help us move forward. So there are 10 basic impacts that when we talk about Feng Shui, is essentially Qi management to create this. Now, there are 9 stages of Qi. I discussed this yesterday. It's called the Sang Wang Tou, the 9 stages, where the lowest stage, if you're stuck at the lowest level, you probably feel a lot of pain, shame, and guilt in your life, or you're constantly feeling denial or depressed. That's a very low level of Qi. Or if you're in a stage where there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of resentment, right? You procrastinate. That's also considered a lower level of energy. So Feng Shui is not like something major, drastic that happens that sets you back a couple of years. It's usually these small things that plays a part, and overall it causes you to have this setback over time. So what you want to get to is that the Qi to be at a neutral level, neutral or and above. When the Qi is performing at a higher level, you get courage. you get reason, you get purposeful life. That's when life is productive. You're creating results. And as a byproduct of that, wealth, career, prosperity becomes a byproduct. Okay, and at the highest level, fulfillment and inner peace, or spiritual awakening. That's the 9 stages of Qi. Now, we then move on deeper into talking about the identity palace. And I emphasize that the most important starting point of all Feng Shui begins with first identifying where's your identity palace and what's in the identity palace. So you do that by logging into the Feng Shui Explorer, plotting a chart, and identifying the direction and the sector of your home that relates to your identity. Now, why is this important? Because this particular sector shapes every choice that you make. Identity is this, right? People always act in alignment with who they believe they are. Not who you want to be, but who you think you are. That internal labeling system, like if I'm a quitter and I'm resilient, I'm not creative, I'm very stubborn, I'm not that smart, I take time to learn. Look at that. Some people say, I'm a slow learner. The more you say, the more you become one, right? Either your identity expands or it limits your entire range of options. So by identifying where this is and fixing it, we create the possibility of improvement. Your identity creates consistency even in chaos. That's why it's so important to find out what's your identity palace and what's affecting you. Because when everything around you shifts, your jobs, relationships, health, identity is the anchor. Who you are inside is the anchor. If it's strong, if it's healthy, if it's grounded, right, you will be able to survive all chaos. If it is vague, it's fractured, you will drift. And people without a stable identity get swept into other people's stories very fast. So that's why we need to ensure that the identity palace that reflects your true identity in life is healthy. And it also drives how other people treat you in life. People mirror what you project out to the world. If your identity is unhealthy, you keep thinking you're second class, you're not as good, you don't have the confidence, you're not as in Malaysia they say, I'm not as atas as you are, not as high up as you are. If you keep believing that and you project that outwards, that's what you're going to get. That's the treatment that you're going to get from other people. But if the identity palace is healthy, you will know your worth. And you will be able to project this outwardly to people, and people will see that in you. That's why we want to fix the identity palace, okay? And it's one of the things that is hardest to fix because it's about authenticity. I mean, people can mimic skills, confidence, success, or patterns, whatever you call it. But at the end of the day, your true self will lead through. It's in the way you are, your posture, your tone, your pace, even the questions you ask yourself. So the room always feels it, even if you can't name it, especially, okay? So everything begins with having a healthy identity palace. We call this the life palace in Feng Shui. It represents you in the context of your whole house. The identity is the lens through which we experience reality. That's why it's important to fix it, okay? So, and also we talked a little bit about how some people have an ego. People always think the ego is the more stronger and nasty self, right? When anything bad, it's always my ego doing it, right? Because ego defends the past. Ego is fragile, reactive, and sensitive. Ego fears being wrong. Ego fears being criticized. Ego is obsessed with image. But your true identity is different. It's open to growth. It lives in truth. So people stay stuck not because of their circumstances, but because they've unknowingly adopted pain and struggle and limitations as part of who they are. And that's why one of the assignments that was assigned yesterday was to look at the identity palace of your house, take a before and after picture. So before is whatever you have there naturally right now. Because some things, items that you naturally position in that area might represent pain, might represent separation, resentment, or might remind you of a very painful past. Some items are symbolic. Some items deliberately bring you back to that memory, that intention. So what do you have naturally that is inside and outside of this area? Take a picture of that. And if you are a VIP, make sure you download the notes because I have a list of a couple of items culturally, symbolically, and also in modern times, what they do mean if you have that in your area. outside, inside your home, and so forth. So the assignment was to list down the 5 things that you need to change in your identity palace. And we also mentioned yesterday in the training, an empty room probably can reflect an empty identity that, there's probably not much purpose. Sometimes an overcrowded and cluttered area represents a crowded, cluttered mind. Okay, so download the PDF, follow the assignment, and post your assignment to the Facebook group, a before and after picture. Okay, super easy. Join the Facebook group if you have not already done so. And if you do your homework, that was a gift. So you're going to do it right now. This gift is this, the 24 Mountains template. So this download will allow you to print this onto a transparency, and you can superimpose this over your home and demarcate the houses. And also there was a special gift number 2, the 8 Life Gua templates. And to achieve this, I suggested that we need at least 100 people to post their homework onto the Facebook group. If we do, then everybody gets an 8 Life Gua template. Okay, so do your homework. All right. Once again, the codes are all here. Scan it and do that. Now, I also talked about activating your superpowers. There was a session where we talked about your personal nobleman sector and your personal intelligence sectors, and how to identify where these are and what to do in these areas to trigger nobleman help and or to increase your ability to learn things faster. Okay, now, so take note of this page. You need to do 2 things here. Besides doing the homework, you want to share your key takeaways from watching the replays. If you're in the VIP, make sure you do that. Or if you've already done so yesterday, then take this as a recap. Share your key takeaways on the Telegram, and remember to do your assignment. Okay, and we have a stay to the end bonus for those of you, only those of you who stayed to the end. Don't forget to claim your bonus free report. This is your personalized report for the month based on your date and time above. You want to check this out. It's super good. And one more thing, we did have a very, very special live-only session that we talked about the 5 tips for total beginners on what they need to watch out for, what they could do when they're learning Feng Shui. Now, that session will not be in the replay. It's only in the live session. So if you weren't watching it live yesterday, you would have missed it, even if you're a VIP, because that we made it very clear it's not going to be included in the replay, okay? But if you want the notes, you want the extended replay of the main training, then yes, you should join the VIP experience. And here is the QR code once again, okay? All right, oh, and one more thing. For those of you who are advanced students of Feng Shui, this main training is not for you, because it's for beginners and people who dabble in Feng Shui a little bit. But for practitioners who's looking for the next level up, to learn new skills, to learn advanced formulas, want me to talk fast like this and give all the important key points and new formulas and activation and all those stuff. Professionals are looking for the advanced level, next level study, or if you're looking for certification, then you need to go to a separate link, because this training is not for you. We might have another one that's suited for you. So go to this QR code. We'll send you a couple of questions you fill out, and then we'll know where you stand in terms of your Feng Shui journey, and we'll send you to the right path, okay? Now, once again, a quick reminder, part 2 is all about alignment, because we only talked about the identity palace in the first part of the training. There's still 7 other sectors that are based on your personal life gua. We're going to show you how you can align to that in part 2. That's why it's called alignment, okay? So take note of the date and make sure that you join us live. I'll see you then.